Imagine a world defined not by skin and scales, but by bone and steel. Below, in the churning, oxygen-rich cradle of the Devonian Sea, two titans clash. The water itself seems to compress under the sheer presence of the two armored behemoths. One, a lesser Placoderm, senses the danger, its massive, articulated head shield angled defensively. It knows the law. It knows the name of its executioner, Dunkleosteus. This isn't a fight for territory. It is a declaration of absolute evolutionary dominance. The smaller giant attempts a clumsy turn, but the Dunkleosteus is a torpedo of pure plated aggression. With a speed that defies its size, the apex predator closes the gap. The final act is delivered not by teeth, but by a sheer hydraulic snap, a bone-jarring compression of its enormous jaws. These aren't teeth in the modern sense. They are two pairs of enormous, self-sharpening bone plates honed over millennia into surgical-grade shearing tools. The impact doesn't just crush the armor. It creates a sudden, devastating vacuum, inhaling the victim's body in a fraction of a second. The water boils for a moment, then settles. Silence returns to the primordial sea, save for the slow, grinding movement of the ultimate hunter gliding away. The message is clear, etched in the violence of the moment. The ocean is merciless, and the right to rule is won only through the strength to destroy. How did a world begin with simple life, only to culminate in such a terrifying, armored reign? And what happens when even the perfect killing machine meets an enemy it cannot bite, an enemy called extinction? Join us now as we dive into the Earth's most dramatic chapters, a saga of creation, annihilation, and the unstoppable will to survive. Before the age of giants, before bone gave way to plate and scale, lay a simpler foundational world, a canvas of green and blue that was, fundamentally, the ultimate chemistry lab. The sheer, relentless force that would eventually carve out the Dunkleosteus began here in the Silurian and Ordovician periods, where the very concept of complexity was a revolutionary act. The ocean, vast and unbroken, became the true engine of all evolutionary progress. The earliest stirrings of life, algae, simple plants, the first fragile-shelled mollusks, were not merely inhabitants, they were the architects of the ecosystem. Algae, those seemingly humble green specks, fundamentally changed the planet's atmosphere, pumping free oxygen into the water and setting the stage for everything that followed. And then came the scaffolding of life, the first marine invertebrates. Sponges, the ultimate filter feeders, anchored themselves to the ancient seafloor, silently sifting the nutrient-rich currents. The early corals, tiny engineers, began the slow, monumental task of building the reefs, vast, three-dimensional cities that offered shelter and hunting grounds. These reefs became the initial cradles of biodiversity, providing the complex niches necessary for evolution to accelerate. Finally, the first true pioneers of the vertebrate line emerged, the early jawless fishes. They were simple swimmers, mostly bottom feeders, but their existence was a declaration. The backbone had arrived. The stage was set. The foundation of algae, coral, sponge, and protofish was laid. This was the blueprint for the entire future of life. The endless slow-motion ballet of continents, the tectonic plates grinding, colliding, and separating, continuously reshaped the sea basins, generating new currents, new shorelines, and endless opportunities for new, radical adaptation. The sea was not just a home, it was a relentless, demanding teacher, forcing every creature to adapt or vanish. The slow, steady march of evolution, having built the foundation, now exploded into a spectacular, brutal display known as the Devonian period. This was the age of fishes, but specifically, it was the age of Placoderms, the plate-skinned titans that ruled the seas. The vast oceans were transformed into massive, underwater battlegrounds, teeming not just with life, but with armored life. Evolution had determined that the ultimate defense against a constantly attacking world was to wear your skeleton on the outside. The Devonian seas were filled with creatures that looked like living tanks, their heads and torsos encased in interlocking heavy dermal bone. This armor wasn't just passive protection, it was an active part of their existence, a heavy defensive shell that forced them to evolve immensely powerful musculature to drive their bodies through the water. But in any arms race, there must always be an apex predator that shatters the balance. And in the Devonian, that predator was born, Dunkleosteus. This colossal placoderm was the ultimate answer to the armored world. It was a creature engineered not for subtlety, but for overwhelming, inescapable force. Imagine a shark crossed with a medieval war engine, reaching lengths of up to 10 meters and weighing several tons. Its sheer mass was a weapon, its speed a terrifying surprise. It was the biological equivalent of a nuclear submarine, dominating every cubic meter of water it patrolled. Its reign was a period of sustained, intense predation, forcing every other creature to be faster, smaller, or better protected. It was a golden, brutal age where the laws of physics and biology were bent to favor the heaviest hitter. The oceans were a spectacle of power, a symphony of crushing forces, and the Dunkleosteus was the conductor of the carnage. The dominance of the Dunkleosteus was not merely one of size, it was a masterclass in biomechanics. Its key to the throne lay in its extraordinary jaws. Lacking true teeth, its dental arrangement was a marvel of biological engineering, two sets of massive, bony shearing plates. These plates were not fixed. They ground against each other with every close of the jaw, constantly self-sharpening into razor-like edges. This gave the Dunkleosteus a shearing force estimated to be among the strongest of any fish, past or present, a crushing force capable of penetrating the heaviest armor of its time. But its genius didn't stop there. When hunting smaller prey or soft-bodied fish, the Dunkleosteus could open and close its massive jaw in a blinding flash, less than 1/50th of a second. This rapid movement created a sudden, powerful suction or vacuum effect, literally pulling the prey into its waiting mouth before it even had a chance to react. From the frigid waters of North America to the warmer coastal seas of Europe and the ancient shores of Morocco, this hunter was the unchallenged king, the apex of the food chain, a biological conqueror whose power seemed absolute. Yet its reign was ephemeral. The laws of evolution are far crueler than any single predator. As the late Devonian drew to a close, a catastrophic global event known as the Hindenburg Crisis began to unfold. Massive environmental shifts, possibly triggered by continental uplift and volcanic activity, led to a worldwide period of anoxia, a devastating loss of oxygen in the deep oceans. The predator, which stood at the very top of the food pyramid, was the first to fall. The collapse of the plankton, the disappearance of the smaller fish and armored prey at the lower levels led to a swift, catastrophic starvation. Its massive body, requiring immense energy, suddenly found nothing but empty, deoxygenated water. The Dunkleosteus, the ultimate weapon of the Devonian, was ironically too specialized to survive the environmental collapse. Its raw power was useless against the silent, invisible killer that swept through the ocean. Its mighty lineage of armored fish was wiped from the earth, leaving behind only the cold, hard memory of a dominance that lasted barely 20 million years. The world, having survived the Devonian crisis, didn't just rebuild. It exploded into a new phase of life defined by abundance and gigantism. The Carboniferous period saw the planet swathed in colossal, swampy forests, dominated by lycophytes and giant ferns. This explosion of plant life had a profound, world-altering consequence. It pumped oxygen levels to staggering highs, creating a supercharged atmosphere that allowed both flora and fauna to reach unprecedented scales. This was the age of giant insects, massive amphibians, and the first sprawling, robust reptiles. In the recovering oceans, the new blueprint for survival was mobility, speed, and versatility. The survivors of the great extinctions, the cartilaginous fish, the bony fish, began to multiply, but the true evolutionary gamble was occurring on the coasts. The first branches of marine reptiles, creatures that had evolved on land and decided to test the waters again, began their hesitant, yet ultimately world-changing, return to the sea. They were pioneers, blending the agility of terrestrial predators with a growing affinity for the water, foreshadowing the great sea dragons yet to come. But this age of prosperity was destined for the ultimate, crushing end. The Permian period climaxed in the single greatest catastrophe in Earth's history, the Great Dying. A massive, sustained volcanic eruption event in Siberia unleashed hell on a planetary scale. For millions of years, vast quantities of greenhouse gases and toxic aerosols choked the atmosphere. The result was a cascading series of disasters: catastrophic global warming, ocean acidification, and renewed, widespread anoxia. This event didn't just cull the weak, it was a cosmic reset button. An estimated 96% of all marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrate species were wiped out. The mighty forests were reduced to ash and desert. The oxygen-rich atmosphere turned toxic. The age of the ancient organisms, the Paleozoic era, was violently concluded. It was a silence so profound, so devastating, that evolution itself had to start over, picking through the few, desperate survivors to find the building blocks for the next world. The lesson of the Permian is the most brutal of all. No matter how strong, how specialized, or how dominant you are always subject to the unpredictable, cruel laws of the planet itself. Out of the Permian ashes rose the Triassic period, a world utterly transformed, a single, massive supercontinent, Pangaea, flanked by a vast, lonely ocean. This empty, post-extinction world was not a time for the meek. It was a time for the ultimate opportunists, the creatures capable of filling the yawning, open ecological niches left behind.
As twilight falls over the primordial swamp, the immense scale of the lycophyte forest is revealed.
This was one of the first reptiles to truly leverage the coastal environment, and its success was purely down to its versatile design, a bridge between land dweller and full-time marine predator. Its body was a marvel of streamlined compromise, long, sinuous, and powerful, perfectly built for a darting, aggressive attack in the shallow, sun-warmed coastal waters. Its limbs had evolved into webbed paddles, giving it a hydrodynamic advantage over the slower, fish-like amphibians it preyed upon. The skull of the Notosaurus was elongated and flat, lined with rows of sharp, needle-like teeth that projected outward, designed perfectly for snagging slippery fish and the early forms of cephalopods. It didn't possess the crushing power of the Dunkleosteus, but it had the cunning and the speed for the ambush. Crucially, the Notosaurus maintained a vital, life-saving connection to the land. It could haul its flexible body onto the hot, Triassic shores to bask in the intense sunlight, recharging its cold-blooded engine before returning to the hunt. This amphibious existence was its secret weapon. In a challenging, newly formed world, the ability to operate effectively in two environments gave it a massive competitive edge, allowing it to dominate the nearshore ecosystems of Pangaea, proving that sometimes versatility trumps specialization. Its reign was a testament to the evolutionary imperative to move quickly and fill the void. While the Notosaurus perfected its amphibious ambush in the tidal flats, a revolution was underway on the dry, baking plains and canyons inland. This was the dawn of the dinosaur empire, and the foundation was laid by a creature of deceptive speed and lethal efficiency, Coelophysis. Hailing from the arid, rugged territories of what is now New Mexico, Coelophysis represents the ultimate evolutionary leap forward for terrestrial hunters. It was not a giant, but its design was revolutionary. It possessed a fully upright posture, standing on two long, straight legs, a crucial biomechanical advancement that allowed for incredible bursts of speed and endurance. Its skeleton was a marvel of lightweight design. The bones were hollow, reducing mass without sacrificing strength, turning the Coelophysis into a fleet, biological running machine. It was the very embodiment of the Triassic hunter, lean, hungry, and reliant on its acuity over raw size. Its large eyes and keen eyesight allowed it to spot the smaller lizards and early proto-mammals that were its primary prey. But the true genius of Coelophysis lay not in its individual prowess, but in its strategy. Fossil evidence suggests they lived and hunted in packs. This was a game changer. By coordinating their movements, they could corral and overwhelm prey far larger than themselves. Their survival was a matter of combined effort, a lethal synergy where a dozen small, fast predators could bring down one large, clumsy victim. Coelophysis was the template for nearly all predatory dinosaurs that would follow, the foundational terror that proved that speed, intelligence, and cooperation could be a more devastating weapon than heavy armor or brute force. They were the trailblazers, laying the groundwork for a world that would soon be defined by the shadows of Tyrannosaurus and Velociraptor. As the continents continued their slow drift and the Triassic gave way to the Jurassic, the climate stabilized and the oceans once again became vast, deep, and open hunting grounds. This stability allowed for the next great wave of specialized marine predators. The Notosaurus had merely dipped its toes. The Ichthyosaurus made the ultimate commitment. The evolution of Ichthyosaurus is one of the most remarkable examples of convergent evolution in history. It began as a land-dwelling reptile, but it returned to the water with such totality that it essentially evolved back into a fish. Its body plan became a near-perfect analog to modern tuna or dolphins, a streamlined, torpedo-shaped hydrodynamism that minimized drag and maximized speed. Its propulsion system was a biological marvel, a massive, crescent-shaped, bony tail fin, the ultimate engine of thrust. It had 4 small fins, but they were primarily for steering and balance, not propulsion. The power came from the great, fish-like tail, allowing it to sustain incredible speeds over long distances. It was a pursuit predator, built to run down the schooling fish and soft-bodied cephalopods of the deep pelagic zone. Furthermore, its enormous eyes suggest a life spent hunting in low-light conditions, a creature that chased its prey far below the surface. Ichthyosaurus was a living statement that evolution, when given enough time and necessity, will always find the most efficient design. By completely severing its ties with the land and committing fully to the marine environment, it became the undisputed master of speed, navigating the open waters with an elegance and efficiency that would define the early Mesozoic seas. The Jurassic Ocean, now rich and complex, demanded multiple predatory solutions. Where Ichthyosaurus dominated through speed, the Plesiosaurus offered an entirely different and equally brilliant approach: subaquatic flight. Plesiosaurs were the most structurally bizarre and instantly recognizable of the great marine reptiles. Their bodies were stout, and their most defining feature was often an incredibly long neck, crowned with a relatively small, sharp-toothed head. The secret to their success lay in their magnificent four paddle-shaped limbs. Unlike the Ichthyosaurus, which used its tail, the Plesiosaurus used all four of its limbs as powerful hydrophores, driving it through the water in a manner strikingly similar to a modern penguin or sea turtle. It literally flew underwater. This method allowed for immense maneuverability and continuous, low-energy propulsion, making it a highly effective hunter of not only fish, but slower, armored bottom dwellers and quick, complex-moving cephalopods. The long neck, once debated by scientists, was a stealth weapon. It allowed the creature to approach a school of fish or a hidden prey animal from below or the side, launching its small, difficult-to-spot head into the fray before the main body mass had alarmed the target. But Plesiosaurus provides perhaps the most heartwarming evidence of evolutionary complexity in the marine world. Fossil records indicate that, unlike most reptiles which lay eggs on land, plesiosaurs gave birth to large, live young in the water. Furthermore, there is growing evidence to suggest that the young may have stayed with their mother for a time, implying a degree of parental care, a social complexity previously thought exclusive to modern marine mammals. This creature was not just a hunter, it was an animal capable of devotion and investment, proving that survival can lead not only to violence, but to family bonds. As the Jurassic gave way to the Cretaceous, the oceans reached their zenith of diversity and danger. Life had fully rebounded from the Permian, resulting in a world where competition was the ultimate driving force of evolution. Every niche was filled, and every animal was forced to become faster, stronger, or smarter to survive. Into this crucible of life and death stepped the Attenborosaurus. A member of the plesiosaur family, Attenborosaurus represented the next-level evolution in the race for marine dominance. It was an upgraded model, larger, more robust, and engineered for pure, overwhelming speed. If Plesiosaurus was a graceful glider, Attenborosaurus was a four-paddled assault vehicle. Its hunting technique was a masterpiece of specialized aggression, the javelin charge. Using the incredible synchronized thrust of its four massive paddles, it could accelerate to maximum velocity, essentially turning its entire streamlined body into a missile. It would attack its prey, whether large, swift fish, powerful squid, or even the young of rival marine reptiles, with a shock and force designed to disable instantly. The Cretaceous didn't allow for long, drawn-out fights. It demanded quick, decisive kills. seas were now filled with advanced bony fish, the first monstrous mosasaurs and fierce sharks. To survive, Attenborosaurus had to be the fastest, the strongest, and the most ruthlessly opportunistic. Its presence in the fossil record is a stark reminder of the escalating arms race that characterized the late Mesozoic. Every creature that survived did so by standing on the shoulders of those who came before, constantly adapting to a world where a moment's hesitation meant becoming part of the endless cycle of the food chain. The natural world has no safety net, no retirement plan, and no mercy. Survival is the only currency. We have traveled through 500 million years of Earth's history, tracing a lineage from the simplest filter feeders to the most fearsome armored behemoths and the most elegant subaquatic flyers. The story of life on this planet is not one of steady progress, but a dramatic, cyclical narrative defined by two unstoppable forces: evolution and extinction. We have seen the Dunkleosteus prove that absolute power is temporary when the environment itself shifts. We have watched the Notosaurus demonstrate the power of versatility in a post-apocalyptic world. We have learned from the Coelophysis that intelligence and cooperation can defeat brute strength, and from the Ichthyosaurus that total commitment yields perfect efficiency. Every single creature we have explored, from the humble sponge to the terrifying Attenborosaurus, existed for one purpose: to survive another day. The laws of the Devonian are still the laws of the modern world. Life is a constant, ruthless competition for resources, energy, and space. Yet it is also a story of magnificent resilience. The survivors of the Great Dying, the adaptable few, held the future in their desperate grip and rebuilt the world.